Is this the best OC we've ever had? We're going to go over that and so much more. I have more tier lists than I can count. We're going to talk about how much it costs to get this unit 2+10. Let's get into it because we have a lot to talk about. We start off with Lucina and this absolutely incredible axe. I am very, very happy with this. All of you Lucina fans should be really excited. I mean, for one thing, Future Sight is fantastic. We're going to get into it. Here we go. Arcane Prima. So we have Slaying. At start of turn, if HP's over 25%, inflicts attack defense -6 on closest foes and foes within 2 spaces. Now this is the same thing as, remember, Robin, so they can be clear across the map and this still takes effect. At start of combat, if unit's HP is over 25%, grants Omni +5 to unit and inflicts attack speed defense res -X on foe. X equals highest penalty. So this is penalty doubler here. And then, so that's on individual stats, by the way. So neutralizes effects that grant special cooldown. So we get tempo here, full tempo on unit during combat. And also, if unit's speed is greater than foe speed, you get null follow-up. Now remember, this is an arcane weapon, and this is absolutely perfect for all of your Gale Force needs. The only thing this doesn't have is special acceleration, and that is getting easier to get. Think about attack speed pledge, or even just think about a legendary Hinoka. There are lots of ways you can get that on a unit. So I'm thinking of Anna and all of you diehards who have her as a Gale Force unit. This is what you want on her. This is incredible. Future Sight. So this, of course, is her version of Swap, where she is a self-refresher. So she uses Swap and then she can act again, which is excellent in modes like Summoner Duels or in player phase things, which you, of course, will love to use her in. So unit and target allies swap spaces, grants attack speed +6, treachery, and if unit initiates combat, reduces damage from foes' first attack during combat by 40%. So you've got damage reduction, you've got treachery, and attack speed +6, and that is pretty fantastic. Now, I'm looking here, it does not look like that goes on, let's see, to unit and target. Oh, good. Oh, I got worried there. I lost the whether this is given to the ally as well. So this is given to both, which is fantastic. Treachery is actually really good, and it just, upon release as a duo skill, it wasn't good enough for that. As an add-on bonus like this, it's excellent. So this is a great unit. You've got attack speed clash 4. The rest of her kit is a little lackluster, and I'm not just wonderfully thrilled about this. Speed defense snag 4. We've seen these snags before. They're really good. Inflicting sabotage. Sabotage is a very underrated skill, but as well as debuffs and getting in combat debuffs. Yeah, I like this, but I don't particularly I would have preferred attack speed, but we've already seen that. So this is another version of it. It's still good. It's okay. So then we have Alarm Defense Res, and this is another one where I like these alarm skills a lot. This is if number of allies adjacent to unit is less than or equal to 2, grants Defense Res +6, and Canto 1 to unit for 1 turn. All of that's great, and additional Defense Res during combat, but I mean, really what you're going to be using this unit for is hitting hard and fast. We already have damage reduction going around here. I don't really want more defense res. I want attack and speed out the wazoo, just everywhere. Keep in mind, since this is an arcane, since this is a rearmed unit, you can get a lot of those skills on her and then hand them out to other units, but you normally don't like to have to give these to a unit like this. Overall, as a unit, I'm probably a bigger fan of rearmed Crom, but I mean, this is still a very good unit. I like his playstyle a little better. I like the repo versus the swap in a lot of the modes we're working with. But I really love this weapon, and I think the Arcane Prima is on par with Arcane Devourer. So in that respect, I think they are both very, very good and respectable. Let's see what else we have here, because we've got a lot to go over. This is a really good banner, Summoners. I am very impressed. I love this. I love this so much. I'm hoping this really helps any newer player to simplify the absolute monstrosity that the descriptions have become. They're terrible. I love the new green, the Yggdrasil. Seeing Yggdrasil as we summon the units, that's fantastic. Severa. Gotta love Severa, and I had to read this about 7 times before I got it because this is very strange. I am classifying this unit as an Omni tank, but melee frontliner is probably another way you could use her. It's just for infantry, there's not as many uses for melee frontliners. We have Slaying. We have, if unit is within 3 spaces, grants Omni plus X to unit during combat. X equals 25% of foe's attack at the start of combat, -4. Max 14, min 5. That's good. I mean, minimum of Omni plus 5 is good, and you most likely will have higher than that. It also inflicts guard on foe per attack, which is excellent. It's something that you really need in the meta right now. Here's where we really get into it. And this is a very complicated way to put this, and in true IS fashion, this is a mess. And also, when units attack, triggers unit special, neutralizes, so it pierces. So, first, I saw this and I was like, well, why did they put godlike reflexes on there? But wait! If unit is within the 3 spaces of an ally and foe's attack, triggers unit special, unit's next attack neutralizes, reduces damage price. So we have piercing whether you have something that triggers before combat or during combat, which is nice. It's needed for this unit. The last thing we have here is this special looping that we've seen is so necessary for godlike reflexes in general, but she'll be able to keep godlike reflexes going with that cooldown count -2 after combat. Keep in mind, guard doesn't take effect on that. That's just 2 cooldown that you get for surviving. Attack speed finish 4 is fantastic. Buffer 4, and this is like the updated, this is the dodge 4 plus shield pulse, which has some really interesting things you can do. So at start of turn 1, if foe's attack can trigger unit special, grants special cooldown -2, inflicts speed defense -4 on foe during combat, and if a skill compares, so we have phantom speed +7. If unit speed is greater than foe speed, then you get the 50% damage reduction at max. That's kind of fantastic and gets you started on godlike reflexes sooner. We'll talk about this unit in a little bit, but as much as I love this, if you're talking about using this unit as an Omni tank, NCD is just, it's almost a must-have. No counter disrupt is hugely important and something that you absolutely need to have. So keep that in mind. What else are we going here? Oh, that's it. I thought she had a C skill. Again, I love the descriptions. I think this is a very good Omni tank, and keep in mind piercing is critical for Omni tanks right now. Next, we have the D mode. We have Laurent. So in case you didn't see, Awakening is missing 1 member of their cast, and that's it. Like, they have filled out everyone else. And Vitterdir? You guys will tell me if I do it wrong, and I will try to correct it. This is hard, Summoners. This is like Nimi, and remember the problem with Nimi is she has nothing to inherit. So this is a preference tome, essentially. Because what are you going to give this unit for their tome? Like, you have no options at all. Iceberg, attacker as ideal 3. I mean, that's nice. This is a solid skip. If you're a Laurent fan, this is even hard to build. Like, this unit is tough. Obviously, there are things you can do. There's always ways to use your favorites, but this one is a hard one. Colorless Tome is probably the worst archetype right now. We have the squirrel tail growing out of nowhere. New Mythic. Man, I was expecting this to be a light mythic. Normally they alternate by year, and this year they just didn't. Or at least they have the last 4 years. She's adorable though. Really and truly. I love the squirrel, the squirrel chibi there. Let's talk about this unit though. World Tree Tail. Okay, the hard part with beast units is that this is it. This is what you get. There is no inheriting some new weapon, so this has to be really good. That's why these things are normally pretty stacked, because they have to they have to stand the test of time. Like, this literally has to run for the next 4 years until this unit gets a refine. So we have Canto 2, which is fantastic for what this unit wants to do. We'll discuss that in a little bit. We have Slaying. At start of combat, or if unit's HP is greater than 25%, you get an Omni +5, and you get an attack speed +X to unit. And this one is a little weird, and I'm always a little bit confused about why they do this, but you get 9 minus 3 times the number of allies with HP less than 40%, minimum 0. So what this is saying is that your allies need to be healthy for this to work, and if they're over 40%, you get +9, which is kind of fantastic. I mean, that's 14 attack and speed, and most of the time when this unit is going to be attacking, you're going to have a lot of health. Grants special cooldown charge +1 to unit per attack, and reduces damage from foe's first attack by 40% during combat. So you've got Slaying and you've got Special Acceleration. Both of those are excellent. You've also got low-ish attack, so the chances are you are going to be able to hit twice. That's kind of critical for Gale Force units. I don't normally like that in the long term because I'm a little worried about attack in the long term, but for this unit right now, that's good. If unit is adjacent to only beast or dragon allies, or if they have the magic beast skill that this unit has, if they transform, grants attack +2 and inflicts attack defense -Y on foe during combat. We've seen this is pretty standard. Y equals number of spaces from start to end +3, max 6. So inflicting attack defense +6 is nice. If we look at this like in total, what is that? That's 14. I lost my math there. 14, 15, 16, and then if we add in the 6, I had 22 attack and 22 attack, and that's okay. I would have liked to see more. Effectively, you're getting another 6 from the debuffs there, so that's a lot, but also, if your Y equals greater than 5, reduces damage from foes first attack by 30%. So you've got a lot of damage reduction in this unit. There are use cases. Let's talk a little bit more about the kit. Get to the next thing, which is very important. Beast Agility 4, which I wish was for these beast skills. I've looked a lot at these in the last couple months, and they're very powerful, but it's almost you need 4 inherent skills to get them, period. It's that hard to get the prerequisite. Essentially, you have to give up an Embla to get this on a unit without using all 4 slots. That's tough. So that's a problem with all of these, but this is very good. So removes condition to transform. We've seen how powerful that is. Inflicts speed defense -4 on foe during combat, and if unit speed is greater than foe speed, you get full no follow-up. Also, unit deals damage equals 10% of unit speed, so that's again another piece of attack there. So you can see we're starting to climb the ladder on how much attack this unit puts out. They don't have piercing, but we'll talk about why that isn't such a big deal anymore. So Mending Heart is something we saw in the FEH channel, and it is very powerful, particularly this Divine Vein Green, which I think is going to change things up quite a bit. And so the big thing is, this goes off once you make an action and then when you canto back. So that Canto 2 is going to be critical. Keep in mind, even if you have some sort of canto control, this unit will still get 1 canto. So there will still be a large range that is covered with the green grass. You also get healing to unit and anyone within 2 spaces. You get an Omni +4, which is nice, and then you get Guard as well. All of these are great things, but let's talk about Divine Vein Green, because that's the big, that's the headline here. And the thing is, it inhibits warp, and we've been looking for someone else who does this, and here we have her. So I'm curious to see how this unit works in the wild. There are 2 questions. I think in player phase strategies, I think she's going to be good. Hit and run is a lot of fun. You'll have to use double smite with her, but I think she is probably worth it. When you are able to use a mythic as an initiator, it frees you up so much on the back end to either put in that inconvenient bonus unit or have another support. And that can be very powerful. But the fact that you're going in and hitting and then applying all of the green grass there and then running away in a fashion that is harder to chase you, because so much of our meta depends on warping right now. That is very good. So whether you're doing that, or if you have a savior or an omni tank and you're dragging them up, you then activate the green grass and then you run away and either repo them out if they're an omni tank, or you just leave them there if they're a savior. You can kind of see how that would work and how you would cover a maximum amount of area with that. I'd be curious to see, like, I know I'm saying that this wouldn't be a Gale Force unit, but that doesn't prevent her from doing Gale Force, if you know what I mean. Hit and run is sometimes very good by hitting 2 units and then running away. Or you get the full movement with you hit 1 and then through Gale Force you get 3 movement instead of 2, and that cannot be Kento controlled. So that is something we've seen with Golveg that's very powerful, and something that you can use in this unit. Because of that, I think there are a lot of things you can do with this unit, and this unit is very versatile, and that's something I really love. She can fall back on just being a support unit, or she can be an attacker. Like I said, there was a big question. I'm having a little trouble seeing this unit used in summoner duels. The reason is calves are a bit limited right now, and that may be something that if you pair this unit with, say, Alencia, there are a lot of fun things that could happen. Again, using that drawback and drawing back Alencia up and then expanding the entire range of your team while also preventing warp can be very powerful and prevents a lot of things. The thing is, you have to be able to perform multiple functions in a summoner duels team. So are you looking at this unit as a melee frontliner? The hard part there, she doesn't really enhance your movement. Cav lines, we talked about a little bit, but they're very powerful on specific maps. They're not necessarily powerful on every map. So we have yet to see. I think this unit is going to be good in something like SDS. I don't know what the ceiling is there. I'm still thinking about that. I do not think this is an SDR unit. So, and you guys kind of know the differentiation there. She's not going to be just S+ tier up there with Duo Thor, but she is going to be a unit that's usable and is a lot of fun. I do like this unit better than Gatekeeper. Just don't tell the Shadow. Yeah. So Ratatoskr here doing her Ball of Fury, which I kind of love. I am curious that the backpack somehow stays on. You can see how things work where she's in one place, applies the green stuff, runs away, and the green stuff is still up. Again, this unit has a lot of power. We're going to stop there. All it talks about, you get 2 sparks this time, which is nice. That can be powerful. But I want to talk about stats briefly. Looking at this, if you're a Lucina fan, her being green is incredible. You're going to be able to get her so much cheaper than you normally would. Your chances of getting her on the spark are 77%, whereas Ratatoskr, your chances are a lot more like 70%. So you can kind of see how this is going. I won't talk about this too much. I will put this out so that you guys can look at it and kind of peruse it at your leisure. I do want to go straight into the rankings though. So first up we have fodder factories, and where does this unit sit? I really like her special. I still, because she's a cav and because she doesn't come with anything unique, I have her down next to her father. Keep in mind, fodder factories can be amazing. It's hard, like anything tier 2 and up is pretty danged amazing. Keep that in mind. There's a big drop off between 2 and 3. I like tier 2 a whole lot, so as you're going through this, just don't be too disappointed if this is your unit. There are still a ton of uses for her, and she's still a lot of fun. Looking at the whole, though, I still only have her in tier 2, mainly because of the fodder that she gives, because I do weigh that in. I don't think she has significant fodder on her own. It has to be given to her, and because she's a calf, she doesn't have a whole lot of things that she can give to other folks. One of them, though, is Gambit. Another is attack speed prime 4. So I keep those in mind. They aren't the most efficient uses, but those are two very powerful skills. Next up, we have Severa and Omni Tanks, and you're probably going to wonder what in the world is going on here. So we talked about this just a little bit, but I think about Claude and the remote skills and all of the new units that have some kind of damage reduction in their weapons, and the fact that it is so much harder to kill nukes. Glass cannons are no longer glass cannons. We go back to Dimitri's Refine. That was so much better than we thought it was going to be, because it has piercing. I mean, you can do the Sims, and the guy really comes through. Look at this unit versus Claude, which is one of the major players in the game right now. Remember that Claude probably won't get something like... you won't have the thing where Claude is going to get a triangle attack every time like he has been getting, because we have that Ruse 4 skill out, and I'm starting to see it more, so it's starting to be more common. Because of that, having this unit be able to take on Claude is huge. That alone does well for her, but she also has a lot of other good things. She's not a Lear level, and I still do have Lucia up there, although Lucia is getting harder and harder to use, and we've talked about it a lot. The age of the Omni Tank is fading a bit. So we have that. I do think this unit is up there though, and I think she's a lot of fun to use and can be very useful. I think she's definitely in that meta tier. Laurent is not, I've talked about it. Colorless Tome is really, really hard. If this is your favorite unit, like I said, there are things you can do with him. You can go full on support and have him absolutely help every portion of your team possible, and he'll be amazing at that. If you're trying to make him a combat worthy unit, it's going to be incredibly difficult. So just keep that in mind as you're going. Colorless Tome is the pits. I don't know what they're going to do about that. That is, they need help. Nimi and Laurent they're really, really suffering. Let's go over supports, and this is where I start projecting, and boy, we're gonna go over a lot of different ways to look at this unit, summoners. I love the new book units because of how easy they are to merge, and the fact that, think about mythics that you summoned years ago can still contribute. I want you to think about air. Lots of folks still use air. And as a unit, she's not fantastic, but you revamp her skills and suddenly she's still going, and her merges still mean something. This is one of the few units, offensive mythics are one of the few units that I will tell you that you do still need to merge. I think it increases your enjoyment of the game, and I think it pays off as a benefit. I like that they haven't nerfed that in some way yet. But anyway, I going on and on about this unit, but I still think her support with that Divine Vein Green is very powerful. Understand that you have to have an action for it to take effect, and that can be limiting for especially modes like Summoner Duels. But it's still very powerful, especially in a unit that has a ton of damage reduction, can most likely be a melee frontliner. We haven't seen totally, but I'm looking at the stat line, I'm looking at the damage reduction, and there isn't a whole lot of piercing in the melee nukes. So that hasn't really filtered down. So this unit can be a melee frontliner right now, and that's very powerful. But yeah, I do have her above Robin just because Robin has had so many nerfs to him. So many. No, tier 1 is still very good though. And then you have units like Alencia and the piercing that Legendary Lear gives, and I still love Legendary Ellawood. That unit has aged so well. And then you have kind of the knick-knack players with Lind and Dogger. Astra Mythics in general, and this is a tough one. I do have her below VIII. I think VIII, it depends on what you're using. And this is kind of this kind of gets into the 1A, 1B situation. Honestly, think about, another thing to think about, so warping includes Wings of Mercy, and I want you to think about all of the things you can shut down if you've got a whole bunch of green stuff everywhere. And suddenly you can't just warp in with all of your Wings of Mercy shenanigans either. And there isn't a huge dependency on that, but it is a subtle portion of building a defense that is very powerful. That can be helpful in things like Hit and Run or in Gale Force. There are a lot of different ways that can really come in handy and help you. I like this unit a ton. If you are more of a player phase person, I think there is a good argument that she ranks above VIII, but I see a more obvious use for VIII in summoner duels, whereas I am still getting my head around how Ratatoskr is going to work in that mode. A lot of what I look at is how these units play in different modes. So yeah, I keep that in mind, but I really love this unit. I think this unit's fantastic. Altina is still, like, you caught her, the last tier list I did, she was right at the bottom of tier 0, and I just bumped her down. Plumeria, even with her refine, I wasn't absolutely thrilled with it. It's still very good, and tier 1 is amazing. But I am getting to the point where we have enough supportive mythics where it is something you can do where you can have, say, VIII, Ratatoskr, and Sather on your team, and then pick one of these other dancers that are loads better. For player phase, Triandra is amazing. Attuned Triandra can absolutely wreck a team from a distance. Really, really powerful. Peony, Attuned Peony is incredibly powerful in enemy phase. I cannot say enough good things about that unit. It comes with Rock Slide Dance, which means it frees up your B skill to have some other thing in there, like a piercing skill. And I haven't seen that used a whole lot, and I should be seeing it. But yeah, so that is why Plumeria is starting to drop. I'm starting to see places where you can use other things. Now, the exception there is, keep in mind, if you are pure player phase, you just don't get better than Plumeria because it's a free movement, a free dancer on your team. So keep that in mind. But I mean, again, if you're, I mean, you construct your team a little differently, but you can do Ratatoskr and possibly use Sather, and Sather stops someone else's turn as well as can take somebody out. So that is, I mean, as far as an action economy, we don't talk about it as much in Aether Raids, but it is there. There are units that still get that action economy, whereas Plumeria can dance and she's very powerful. I just think that there are units that are starting to be better. So before you come at me with pitchforks, understand, still very good, but there are better units coming down the pipeline. We've talked about Elamine and Naga, good situationally, and tier 3, Reagan is just about to get a refine. We're going to talk about her later, but keep an eye out for Reagan. She is about to get a lot better. And then we have, just for fun, I wanted to rank the new book heroes at the time that they came out. Understand that, again, this is one of those things where there's a huge drop between tier 2 and tier 3. Fjorm was tough. Even when she came out, she was kind of hard to use. I wasn't a fan when she came out. I'm not a big fan of her now. Reagan and Ash are both very serviceable units and were from the moment they released. If you're using them now, you've got a Gale Force build you can use on Ash, which is very good. And I mean, Reagan as a pot hound is still amazing. Sather, the thing I really thought that Sather was going to be able to contribute more in was modes like Summoner Duels, whereas I just, at the time, that just wasn't a thing that was going to happen. I think Ratatoskr is going to be able to contribute there. Sather was able to contribute on all of one map. Just because of positioning, that's just the way it went. No one beats Peony. Peony is solidly absolutely changed the game when she came out. Amazing. Really, really spectacular. The big thing to look at, though, is all of these new book units have been very solid and all merge worthy. So if you got them when they came out and you merged up, you're probably still using them and you're probably still pretty happy with them. I have Peony, Sather, and Reagan. I took advantage of the rerun, and we'll talk about how that's cheap here in just a second. But let me know in the comments, who's your favorite new book hero? I would love to hear it. Last but not least, and this is a big deal. Like, I need you to know how cheap it is to make one of these new book heroes. Now, I've got two versions of this. One is with FEH Pass and one isn't. I understand that I have both spenders and non-spenders in here, but regardless, this is cheap. Let's go over the FEH Pass path first. One of the interesting things that comes out, and we're looking at 50th percentile. For 50th percentile, most of the time you get Ratatoskr before you get the spark, but you have to spend the extra orbs in order to get the spark. So that's why you get a little bit of, if you're doing the math on just summoning the heroes, it doesn't quite come out that way. I had to go and do some fancy stuff there. And I am doing this as if you're sniping on blue, not just going straight for the spark. If you're looking at merging up this unit, I highly recommend on this first banner, going ahead and getting your merges up to 4. That's 2 Ratatoskrs, you get 1 for free, and you get 1 as a spark. If you have FEH Pass, I encourage you to summon on the legendary banners. If you don't have FEH Pass, stay away from the legendary banners. Oh my God, they are suffering. They're terrible. Like, if you can help it, stay away from those. But if you have FEH Pass, you go to the spark, you take what you get, and you leave. The rerun is where you do cleanup, and this is the real. So I'm going to get folks in the comments that say you don't know if this unit's going to get a rerun. That is true. There are 2 things. There is only 1 new book hero that hasn't gotten a rerun, and that was Ash. And Ash was not the best unit. I really thought warping was going to be better than it was. Like, I really, that one surprised me. It really wasn't fantastic until we got it on flyers. That's another subject for another day. But Ash also had a terrible banner with her. Ganglot is not a fantastic unit, and that's really the only thing that's shared with her. But it almost got a rerun, even with being that bad. I cannot guarantee you that this unit is going to get a rerun, but it's likely that she will. And even if you don't, you can continue to try to summon for this unit. But in order to get this unit to plus 10 in a year, you do need help from the rerun or a lot of orbs. So keep that in mind. So that is the rerun, is the cleanup. Any units that you didn't get in the other banners, that's where you're going hard here. That also gives you time to save, because that's about 6-7 months away, sometimes a little more. Usually the rerun for this comes in the September timeframe, the August-September, so I guess a little more than 6 months. But you get the picture there. You have time to save orbs for this unit when she comes back. Okay, so if you are not using FEH Pass, you're skipping the mythics altogether and you're dumping everything into that rerun, that is saving up for essentially what is around 600 orbs, a little less, 500 and 570 around there. So that's where you are dumping a ton of orbs and trying to get her there. The other warning is this is 50th percentile. 50th percentile means if you take every summoner and they all summoned on this banner, 50% of them are going to get results similar to this and 50% of them aren't. This does not mean if you and your friend summon, they'll get one side and you'll get the other. That's not really how statistics works. You need large sample sizes. The point is there's a chance that you will not get lucky and it will cost more than this. But 768 with a FE Pass and 925 without is still very cheap, and for a year, you should be able to get this unit to +10 with your savings. All right, summoners, that was a lot. We went on forever. I cannot believe how long this video is. You guys are amazing. I will be putting an Astra update to the tier list very soon, and I've got unit builds and refined schedules and all sorts of great stuff that's coming in that. So be on the lookout. That's coming soon. You guys are amazing. Members, I love you. Take care and schedule an appointment with your FEHology real soon.